we are seeing like in 2021, there are around 4,000, and then in 2023, there's already 12,000. So we could see that there's an obvious increase in terms of the numbers, and we are not even considering those without an OKU card yet. So therefore, I wouldn't say that it is more common. I think this is because awareness has increased, and besides that, diagnosis is also much more accessible. Our society is much more open and accepting towards information related to disabilities. Besides that, we also see an influx of not hereditary disabilities, but those which are acquired. Factors causing this are such as increase in screen time for children, decrease in outdoor playtime, and high expectations for academics, so on and so forth. So that would be the current trend we're looking at in Malaysia. When we think about characteristics of a child with disability, I would prefer we look at it in terms of differences, because in a factory we can consider standardization as quality because products, they have their intended function. However, when we talk about human beings, that's just not the way we can use to understand how humans work. I would say that traditionally we talk a lot about developmental milestones that parents should follow. If the child falls behind a milestone, then they have to be alert. So I think that could be a reference. However, I think a more practical way to look at this is that parents, you have instinct about your children. So if you realize that there are certain characteristics that your child is showing and you are feeling a bit uncomfortable about it, you're not too sure what to do about it, I think it's time to seek out and to have a conversation with somebody who may be able to help you out in this case. I think the first time that you realize that your child might have a disability, you will go through a period of grief. And you will be upset, you might feel that there is a disappointment, and I think a lot of times it is the feeling of loss between the expectations and the dreams you had for this child, and eventually realizing that it might not be the case. However, I do want to encourage you that it doesn't mean that this child is a failure. It doesn't mean that this child will not be able, to achieve great things. It's just that the journey will look a bit different. There will be a lot of ups and downs, but it will be so exciting because together with your child, discover, what the future holds for the both of you, especially for your child, and you will play such an important role to write this story together with your child and to ensure that as they become adults, they become fulfilled adults as well. So I wanted to share from a point of view of an educator who has worked together with many kids, teenagers and adults throughout my career, that everything will be alright. So let's start from its name. Early stands for ages between 0 to 5 or 6. This means that this child is in preschool age, and it's really the golden period whereby they are picking up a lot of the fundamental sensory motor skills. So this program should begin in that particular duration. Usually in an early intervention program is to also support the parents. If there are siblings, the siblings needs to be involved as well. The parents both play equally important roles in ensuring that they know what is the child being provided for, and they themselves are also being supported. For example, they might say that I want my child to be able to learn how to write. So this falls under the academic/literacy domain when we support the child and when we plan a program for that child. So you'll be seeing that in every early intervention program, it's very mastery based. We break complex skills into separate sub-skills. How's their palmar reflexes like? How can they grip the pencil, or maybe a writing tool? Or are they capable to trace on a thicker line and then trace on a thinner line and then trace on just dotted lines and eventually being able to write. With the fact that they are able to meet this sub-skill, they see that they themselves are improving. And besides that, it's also to prepare the child for school, because when a child goes into school and they're expected to write and all that, if these sub-skills are not being mastered, I think the writing itself would already be a challenge, but beyond that, emotionally the child will be affected. They might have learned helplessness. They feel like, I can't do this, I'm not good in this, and this will become something very difficult to unlearn as the child grows older and older. So therefore the EIP is so important to give the child a head start, not just in the skills but also in the confidence. So this example given from the book book is when a child went around in school and then he was going like dua, dua to all teacher. He was pointing, at his face, and when the teacher asked him, what is it that you want? Can you lead me there? Can you show me? He was just repeating himself and saying dua, and the teachers just couldn't seem to understand and had a very confusing 2 days when they decided to talk to the mother. So the first thing that the mother said, he's not feeling so well. And then when the teacher was like, what do you mean? And the mother said, because whenever he's sick, I would ask him to say dua. So it's for me to put in the thermometer and for me to actually feed him medication. So from this very example, you will realize that yes, teachers might be experts in terms of the strategies or the approaches or plan writing, but parents are actually the expert of their child, and we cannot have one without the other. It's also something I learned along the journey being a special educator, is to imagine our children like plants. So we wouldn't expect our plants, different plants of different colors, different height, different leaves, to grow under the same conditions. So we cannot expect immediate transformation after 1 week or 2 weeks of going for, let's say, an EIP program or going to a school or attending a therapy. But to have patience that it is accumulation of the entire journey, and this accumulation also comes with my second point, which is your consistency. You're consistent enough to be the company and to share your calm with this child, to make sure that whatever that you have learned, whatever ways that you were being taught by the school or by the teacher or by the therapies, you continue to do it. So to be consistent in your support for that child. The final one is collaboration. To be able to acknowledge that although these experts know about their field and they have all the head knowledge about these approaches, but you know the best about your child. So trust your instincts and be willing to share your concerns with the experts, and don't keep quiet just because you felt like they should know better. Share what works for you at home and allow them to also share about what works in the center and in the therapy sessions. When we continually do this, I realized that a child with invested time, commitment and love, none of them who has all this, don't grow up to be wonderful people. So that is something that I really want to encourage you to keep going, because at one point it will definitely be worth it. My hope for children with special needs is that whatever school that they go in, they will be accepted of their differences, and with that, all the teachers who are in school, they will be able to embrace these differences, and they will be able to consider that special education is not so special because it is just education, and they can do whatever it takes to support the children in their classroom despite the differences and the diversity that they bring.